Hey everyone, today you're going to hear the story of AJ Saunders. He is somebody that started out as a musician and then actually owned a jewelry store, produced Kindle books, and now owns an affiliate website that is making about £5,000 per month, which is roughly $6,000 or $7,000 US dollars per month. And this interview is conducted by Jared Bauman, so you'll hear both of them here on the podcast. AJ is actually one of the moderators for the Niche Pursuits Facebook group, and he's been doing a great job there. And so if you're part of that active Facebook community, you will see that AJ is there a lot, interacting, approving your posts, and making sure that it's a good experience there. So I wanted to have AJ on the podcast to really hear his story. And so you're going to hear not only that background that I mentioned, but specifically how he's built up this affiliate site that he has right now that's making roughly £5,000 a month. It's about 3 years old and it has 1 million words of content. And so he has some good processes in place for hiring authors, how he writes his own content, how he decides who writes that content, and then just how the site's monetized and the entire process of how he's built the site. And so if you want to hear AJ's story and hopefully get a little bit of motivation to build your own site, as well as some SEO strategies that you can apply to your own portfolio, go ahead and listen to this interview. And finally, if you'd like to follow along with AJ or connect with him, you can go to his website at ajsdigitalgroup.co.uk. Thanks again.
Hello and welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. I'm your host today. And we've got a wonderful interview in store for us. We're joined by AJ Saunders. AJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Wonderful. So it's bright and early here in the morning, but for you, now where are you joining us from?
So I'm currently in Bath, which is in the southwest of the UK, and we're currently having a heat wave. So we probably have quite similar temperatures. So it's 2:00 in the afternoon now, and it's about 30 degrees, which I think is about 90.
I was going to say, that's you just kind of multiply by 3 and round one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah, it's similar here for me as well, but it's not 90 yet, but it will be later on today.
Yeah, so.
Good. Well, I'm really excited today. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
We got a lot of great things we can talk through. Of note, I know from my personal side of things is that I recognize your face as one of the moderators of the Niche Pursuits podcast, but you also have a podcast of the Facebook page. and you also have, but we'll also talk about some of your affiliate websites. We'll talk about some of the different things you're doing and some of the different things you're doing uniquely, I think, with ranking and monetizing your sites. Let's hear a little bit about what got you into all this. So if you could bring us up to speed.
Sure. So I never felt, after school, I never felt the right path to go down was to go to university. So I actually went off and studied music in London, and I was there for about 5 years. And I realized, as much as I love music, I was never going to make it. And, the industry that I wanted to get into, which is session work, is only still really big in like Nashville and LA. And the competition is just fierce. And there still wasn't really a scene for it really kind of in London. So I came back to Bath and I started to look at how to make money online. And I got into, I literally found people like Pat Flynn and Neil Patel. And from Pat Flynn, definitely I found Spencer. And Spencer really resonated with me in a way that Pat didn't after a while. And so I still look to Pat, I still read Pat now and again, but I found that the way Spencer kind of communicated and what Spencer was doing was much more my kind of bag. And then I tried various things. So having a background in music, I tried to start a little entertainment agency, so I built a website for that. And then from there I got into affiliate marketing and started to read everything that I could on Niche Pursuits and Neil Patel and Matt Diggity and those types of people. And so I've had a really, really interesting kind of decade since I moved back from London. And it's been really, really exciting. It's been utterly frustrating. I've had lots of highs, lots of lows, lots of moderate successes, lots of failures. So, for example, I had a little jewelry store that we did some really exciting things with. We got some national press. We had some brands that were exclusive to us. For example, Maserati watches, they hadn't been in the UK till I brokered a deal with a distributor to get them, and I was the first person to carry them. And so that was really, really exciting. But it didn't really go anywhere. But I'm sure we'll come on to that. But then I've had some real successes with some guitar ebooks that I wrote, must be 8-9 years ago now, which I still make kind of 20-30 bucks each month without doing anything to that business. And so I think I've seen enough people come and go, and enough different kind of business models come and be blown apart by Google updates or by things happening in the market to kind of have some really insights in terms of what is possible.
That is a storied past. It's fun to hear about. I mean, basically a music career into an online career now.
Yeah.
And I think the most important question that I have to ask now on this podcast is, do you have a Maserati watch at this point?
I don't.
Oh man, that sounds just awesome. I think that would be great. We'll leave that one where it is.
The really interesting thing, I do have to say this because this is really, really quite crucial. There were a couple of Maserati watches that came in that I thought, if it doesn't sell, I'll have it for myself. And there's also this really niche Swiss watch brand that were making handmade Swiss watches. And I couldn't for the life of me sell them. I was thinking, yes, great, I'll keep them. And then they sold. So I was really, really annoyed. You
didn't even get one. You didn't even get one for yourself.
I didn't even get one. No. So
the cost of doing business, I suppose.
It is indeed.
Well, let's talk about. It's interesting to hear you mention. I don't think I had connected the two, but I think the first time I'd heard about and caught on to the niche pursuits, it was probably just the website at the time. Was I think when Spencer was on Pat Flynn's podcast. I think you're right.
Okay.
That might have been. I'm thinking back. I'm dating myself, but that was a while back. But yeah, that was probably the first introduction I had as well, and then naturally gravitated more towards the website side of things as time went on, much like you did. So
I just think you remember, I kind of got into Pat Flynn maybe 8-9 years ago, where he was just kind of starting out, and so he was very active in terms of his comments, and I think Spencer would leave quite a few comments on the blog, and so he was something that I clocked just kind of organically. And so I can't remember whether they did like an interview or not, but I just kind of clocked it because I saw his name come up all the time.
I think I think you're right. I think they did do an interview, but it could have been the same for me.
Right.
At this point, memory's fuzzy. Let's talk about your first website then. So you talked about jewelry store, you talked about your guitar ebooks and these sorts of things. Where did websites play into this? What was your first website, and do you still have it? Did you end up selling it? Did you just let it die? What's going on with that?
So, just to kind of backtrack, a friend's dad taught me web design when I was about 15. He was head of IT at a school, and I was staying over that weekend, and he said, "Guys, I want to teach you how to do HTML programming." And to me, I'd never done any programming, and it's just so exciting to learn how to code. Mm-hmm. And that kind of stuck with me. And then fast forward probably 7 or 8 years, I then tried to start a little agency to sell bands that I was in, or bands that I was connected with. And so I built a website in HTML, not really understanding viewpoints or mobile or different screen size even. And so that was done in HTML. I think I have that on my hard drive, believe it or not. It's not live anymore, but it's on my hard drive. But I don't do really fancy things like clip boxes, so you can click on, say, string sections, and everything else would disappear, and the string sections would appear, and it was far too fancy, in terms of, because I knew nothing about SEO, I thought, let's just make it as fancy as possible, not understanding, how to actually rank websites.
I'm sure that wouldn't do well on mobile these days.
No, definitely not.
Before mobile first was a thing, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And so did that website get any traction? I mean, did it help?
I'm sure I was running analytics at that point, but I'm pretty sure that I don't have a clue.
Very good. I understand. I think that we were all a little dark back in those days when
Right, right.
setting up analytics was a little bit different of a proposition.
Yeah, yeah,
So with the jewelry store, post university, is that a good transition to talk about that next, or are there any
yeah,
gaps in there?
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
let's talk about that. Because I think one of the things I think is really interesting about your story, and I know a lot of people probably can relate to it, is going to college or university,
Yeah,
and realizing when you get out that it's not necessarily all it's cracked up to be, or that it's not the career field you want to go into. And I think
yeah,
for a lot of the colleagues I have, that will be part of how they stumble into making money online, how they stumble
right.
into an online journey, whether it's something they do on the side while they're trying to get out of a career field they're unhappy in, or whether they do it because they realize it's just not a career that is worth pursuing. So when you left music to pursue, your next venture in life,
Yeah.
why did you pick jewelry, and how did that jewelry business end up going, and how did it lead you to your next thing?
So, well, okay. So the first thing I did is I wrote some Kindle books because at the time, this was 8, 9 years ago, everyone was talking about how great Kindle was going to be, and for me, it has been. And again, I still earn 20, 30 bucks a month from selling Kindle books, and so that kind of helped me to kind of see that there is a market for doing things online. And again, because it's Kindle and because it's Google Books as well, those are the material platforms. It's like they handle all the delivery for me, and I just have to kind of pump out content. And so that was kind of game changing in a way. And then from there, I kind of got into, so how can I build something that I can scale that I can sell? And so then the next thing is, okay, right. So talking with a good friend of mine who's a bit of a mentor is, can you buy some products and try and mark them up and sell them? And so jewelry and kind of homeware gifts kind of made sense in terms of that next logical step for me. And so I now know lots of people are doing kind of retail arbitrage, where they might be buying something in Target for say $3 and they're selling it on eBay for $10. But people weren't really doing that at that point in that kind of way. So I remember Spencer talking about, this is years ago, talking about buying things from stuff like Goodwill or like charity shops, because that's our kind of equivalent, and buying like clothes and then redoing them or books. I think he started with and flipping them for a bit of profit. And so yeah, so that was my whole kind of my next step. If that makes sense, is how can I build something that I can sell that has some kind of equitable value, or kind of intrinsic equitable value that can help me get to that next kind of point, that next kind of stage, and have some capital to do something a bit bigger. And so, yeah, so jewelry kind of was a natural fit because the markups are good, the competition isn't that great. A lot of people, especially in the UK, they're small independent jewelers who have really horrible e-commerce sites, and so there's a great opportunity for that. And so yeah, so I didn't know too much about the industry, and I think that's one reason that it didn't work out. And I also think, looking back on it, I should have probably worked on more kind of gift wear, because I think the market for gift wear is 12 or 10 months, whereas the market for jewelry is mainly Christmas and Valentine's Day.
Right.
And so you have these massive kind of spikes and these then kind of like long troughs of no activity or very little activity. And so it's a great way. It's a great way to learn business. I think you have to be in business to learn business. I don't think you can read a book. And I obviously encourage people to go and read as much as possible and to think and to talk to as many people as possible. But I think you kind of have to get dirty and down in the muds and kind of figure it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the skills that I now use on a daily basis, I learn through that business. So I wouldn't change, I wouldn't change the fact that I failed. I wouldn't change the fact that it didn't work out as I kind of planned, because of all the amount of stuff that I learned, all the amount of things that I carry with me to this day. And I think all of that has been instrumental in terms of, and incremental in a way, in getting me to where I am now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I'd love to ask a couple questions if I could about
go for it.
Your Kindle books, and
Yeah,
the fact that they're still selling to this day. I mean,
yeah.
I know what you're talking about. That period of time where writing a Kindle book was going to be the fast track to
Yeah, right.
to riches. I wrote one. You can find it. I think it's still available on Amazon. I'm not sure.
Sure.
I don't get commissions to my knowledge to this day.
Okay.
I never really got many. What did you do to make them successful? You know, I mean, I know that some of those strategies are antiquated. We don't need to go in necessarily to all the old strategies, perhaps because the platform is different now. But I mean, to have something that you haven't really put any effort into in 8 or 9 years and you're still getting a check from, I think that's really fascinating, you know?
So I'm primarily a guitar player, right? So I wrote 20 books primarily on things that I taught my students over the years, right? So it wasn't how to play 12 different blues licks, because there's a million and one books like that. I don't teach it that way. I still don't teach it that way even all these years later when I do some teaching now and again. Whereas I focus mainly on, okay, so how can you teach yourself to learn? Because I feel that's a much more practical skill. And so I developed ebooks around those kind of things, or around advanced concepts that I'd learned from teachers or learned from forums that people hadn't really talked about. And so for me, I think how I positioned myself, even if it was surreptitiously, meant that I had a market already there, because it was already quite small, but there were people that were interested in that kind of thing because it wasn't the typical kind of thing. So that was one thing. The other thing that I did, I released like the 10 ebooks is just single ebooks, and I put them together as a package. And so I think that also kind of helped. So you can buy individual books. We can buy a pack of like the 10 basic series or the 10 advanced series, or you can buy all 20. And so that is the reason I think that it's worked out quite well for me.
And do you find that most people are now or back at the time or even through time are purchasing that bundle, or just the individual ones?
I think people are still purchasing bundles, and that's where I make a lot of my money, which for me is great. But also, we're talking 5, 6, 7 years ago now. I would occasionally get emails from people all over the world who bought the books. And that was the most exciting thing, thinking, that there was somebody in Australia who loved, this book on this particular thing, and she took 5 minutes out of her day to write to me, and that's so incredible.
That's pretty awesome, and the fact that they've stood the test of time is really cool as well. That's something you can really hang your hat on.
Right, exactly.
Well, let's talk about websites. Let's talk about. I mean, we've talked about your first website.
Yeah.
But maybe we should talk about your first affiliate website.
Sure.
When did you get started? And I know you have a storied background in affiliate websites, and you have several at this point. So I think there's a lot we can drill into. I'd love to hear about how you're building those and how you're growing those. But let's talk about your first affiliate site.
Sure. So when I released the ebooks, I then released a website to do with the ebooks.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I just wrote random articles. I didn't have a strategy, didn't have any idea, wasn't really any keyword research. And over time, as I read more and I kind of got smarter, I then started to think, okay, right, so I've got some sort of traffic coming looking for more information on the books, or looking for like practical downloads, of blank sheets, or where to find a metronome, etc. And then I was like, okay, so let's try and write some blog posts. So I started to write blog posts around basic keywords. And then I thought, I know, I can sign up for Amazon. And this was years ago when Amazon was actually quite a profitable affiliate program. And so I started writing reviews of gear that I had. So like pedals or drum machines or cables that I had. And actually, I still make a bit of money from that even now. Even though I haven't really touched that website for a couple of years. But that kind of got me thinking in terms of writing reviews of products that I've used, or writing reviews in terms of being able to take my knowledge and being able to kind of synthesize it into something that could be useful to somebody else. And then another post that I wrote was how to build, is going to sound really, really techy, so I do apologize. But if you have like effects pedals, sometimes you want to be able to group two of them together and click one button. And so you build this thing called a looper. And so it's literally just a switch with a couple of jacks and an LED and a resistor, right? It's really, really simple circuit. But you can chain multiples of these together. and build quite complicated systems. And so I wrote a post about that and put loads of affiliate links in that. And I still, even to this day, get the odd email now and again from people that say, "Hey, I built this off your diagram." I also made a bit of money from their clicks to the affiliate links. But it's so cool to see people from all over the world building what I wrote, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So that again was also eye-opening, because it's like that post isn't directly like heavily influencing, like in terms of buy this product, buy that product, but I'd be able to pepper enough products in there to make it exciting to other people, and to make it, interesting enough that people will click on those affiliate links and make me a little bit of money, which is obviously important, right? So that was kind of the genesis, I guess, of building what I'm currently working on, which is my main income site, which is to do with property here in the UK. And I'm doing lots of home automation posts and lots of like home cinema posts and entertainment. I was actually writing about TVs this morning, for example. And so that's really, really fascinating, because I'm a bit of a geek. I'm really interested in home automation. But there's so many products within that space, and so many ways of encouraging people to buy products that are affiliate products. But also, a lot of these brands, because they're on the kind of the edge of technology, they're not really like set up to do affiliate stuff. So when you go and you talk to them about doing affiliates or doing marketing with them, they're really excited, because they don't really get those kind of opportunities, because their opportunities are either influence marketing, which they're doing kind of a pay per campaign, or they're doing general kind of PR push, which again isn't really relationship building. And so for me, it's really, really exciting to go and approach some of these brands and talk to them about, hey, let's do something together, around affiliate marketing, around trying to get your products into a wider range of people, and how we can kind of communicate with people, maybe what they're aware of the products, and get them further down the line to where they're embracing what you're doing. And so, so for me, it's really, really exciting.
So for this newer site you have, this home automation site, it sounds like you are pretty successful in monetizing from an affiliate standpoint off of Amazon, and not having to go through Amazon for the bulk of your affiliate commissions, but negotiating individually with the brands. And that's working out really well for you to move away from Amazon for that affiliate monetization.
So I still do a lot on Amazon. I still do a lot of smaller programs through stuff like AWin, which I know is universal. I then found success with people. So a couple of months ago, I was just Googling to do for research for an article, and I found an affiliate programs. And I just emailed them and said, "Hey, this is what I do. Are you interested in me becoming an affiliate?" And we had a call, I think, a day or two later, and about an hour after that, I was on their affiliate program. And so I think that there are lots of opportunities if you look for them. I do think Amazon is great for certain things, but I think you have to kind of be aware of the fact that they're the store. They can change the policies at any point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so important to kind of see what else is out there. And the other thing that I've realized recently is I've actually found one of the brands that is a direct from China brand that do lots of just general home products. And they're actually listed on AWin. I think the commission rate, their basic commission rate probably isn't as good as Amazon, right? But there's no reason that you couldn't go and negotiate up, or start on the basic and kind of build a good relationship with them and negotiate up, and be able to cut Amazon out that way. And so all you're then doing is just changing a couple of links. And so you're not doing anything highly technical or highly, smart. You're just trying to be a bit clever with how you do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm still massive on Amazon, because in the UK, the commission is still 7-8%. And so for me, that works really, really well, right? But yeah, I do see, like with my guitar site, because all the traffic is US, I still do quite a bit of business with Amazon US, and so I do have that kind of unique perspective. I do have that sympathy for the people that have been hit in the last year, that it has been a bit tough, and I get that. And I think the thing is to either try and diversify or to think of a way that you can do something that will benefit you in terms of upping your volume to Amazon. I think that there's a couple of ways to do that. I think you can become like a product specialist of one particular brand, for example, and that's how you can generate more flow through to Amazon, get a higher rate of commission, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. Like, what would be a good process for someone? What would be the process you go through when you, let's say you have a product that you're selling on your site and you want to go out and find a direct affiliate relationship offer instead of going through Amazon. What would be the process, especially for one, by the way, that doesn't exist yet, you know? What would be a good process for going to the brand? Like, what's the process you go through when you go to a brand directly and talk to them about becoming an affiliate?
So
how do you position that?
This is a great question because I actually did something like this on Monday. So I actually talked you through what I did Monday, right? This is quite. So I found a hyper company here in the UK, and I'm really interested in their products. And I can go to Amazon, I can get my 7%, but I'm really interested to see what kind of relationship I can build with them. So I just emailed their press contact from their website and just said, "This is what I do. This is what I think we can work together. How does that sound to you? Is that something you want to explore?" So I haven't gone and said to them, you know, you must give me this, you must give me blah, blah, blah. I haven't gone and I want to, and I do apologize for this metaphor, I want to date them, not one night stand them, right? I can't think of a better way of putting that. I do to apologize.
Yeah.
But I think that's the right kind of approach, is you want to try and date them. And I think so far this year I've had so many emails, like we all do, from people that want to get a link or want to get something from me, and the people that I instantly respond to have a company specified domain, domain and email address, right, and ask if I could take a look at something for them, or if I could help them with something, right? So then they're not coming and saying you must. It's, is there an opportunity here? And I think if you step back and you say, right, how can I benefit that other person more than me to start off with, you're going to get their attention. We often forget we're actually communicating with other people.
Mm-hmm.
We're not communicating with the dots and ones and whatever. We're communicating with another person. And it's like, if you put yourself in their shoes, or if you just imagine what you would like, be selfish for a minute and say, what do you want as a consumer or as a person? And put yourself in that kind of line of thinking, and then write an email from that standpoint. And so for me, step one is kind of the general the general kind of contact. Then number two, I'll probably try and find somebody on LinkedIn or Facebook and try and build a relationship with them, and just try and find something we're mutually interested in, and try and build a friendship around that. Not necessarily me trying to evangelize about why I want their product so much or why they should come do business with me, but trying to do something to get them to trust me. Because then when you have those conversations, it's far, far easier. So an example that we'll come on to later is I've just released a course. And actually the tool suite that I use daily, which is SEO Power Suite, I built a good relationship with a couple of their team members. And so one of them, we become quite friendly in the last kind of year. Yeah, in the last year. And so when I put together the course a couple of months ago, I was able to say to her, I'm doing this course, I'm going to recommend your products and do a couple of modules on how to use your products. Are you happy with that? Who do I need to talk to at your company? And I got an email back saying, that's absolutely fine. What do you need from me? It wasn't a question of, sorry, who are you? What do you want? How, why are you doing this? It was, that's absolutely fine. And then a couple of months later, I emailed the CEO because I found him on LinkedIn, and he said, I'm well aware of it. Sounds really exciting. Can't wait to see it. Right. And so it's that little bit of relationship building that goes such a long way to getting what you want in the end.
So a couple of things I heard you say are personalize the approach.
Correct.
Use a branded, try to use your branded domain, email address.
Yeah.
Make it official. Don't whip it together and just send out a quick
No.
email.
No.
I mean, you do research. You try to friend these people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You really get
Yeah.
behind the
Yeah.
the outward movement that you have towards
Yeah.
building that affiliate relationship.
Yeah. The other thing that I did with my email out on Monday, it was a general email. I said, hey, these are two articles that I've written recently that may interest you, right? And it was about competitors' products, but it was also about what they do, right? So it's in their general kind of market. And I'm thinking, even if they just take a cursory glance at both of those articles, they'll get what I do and how I can help them.
Yep.
And so it's me demonstrating, me trying to build trust off the bat in the most simplest and easiest way possible by saying, here's something that may interest you. What do you think? Right?
I love your analogy of dating before you ask someone to marry you. You wouldn't go out on a first date, or you wouldn't ask someone to marry you before you go out on a first date. And so
right.
I mean, it's a funny analogy, but it's also very true in business and networking, crawl, walk, run, like you need to treat these people with, and by the way, it's a good strategy just to stand out, like you said, it's almost, we all get so many emails every day for all of our websites, where it's so direct, and there's perhaps a time and a place for that approach. But when it comes to getting noticed by an affiliate or by a brand to help with an affiliate relationship, those are some really great tips. Great tips. So what other things are working for you with your affiliate websites right now? You talked about your main one being this home automation site. What's working for you right now? Can you share some more thoughts?
Sure. So something that I've done is I try and split content between like commercial content and non-commercial content. And so commercial content is things like reviews, or where I'm talking about, say, particular type of products. So like, so I'm doing a golf roundup. So the best 10 putting greens that you can have for your office, right? Or golf clubs. And so what I try and do on that is I try and make it really, really niche. I then try and remove everything that could distract. So on those pages, you won't see a single advert, because I feel that people clicking to that kind of page, they want to buy something. They don't want to click on an advert. And actually the payout of the advert may be 50 cents, where I may make $5 in a click through to a product. Whereas, if I'm talking about how to improve your golf swing or how to improve your putting, sorry, I don't know anything about golf, so I just this is all apply here. I'll wrap that in kind of sensitive ads from AdSense or Mediavine or Exotic, because I feel that's the best way to monetize. And so I feel if you're running an affiliate site, try and build different page templates for the different types of content you're putting out, and really hone down on what actually you want the user to take, and try and get rid of everything else other than that one of those two actions that you want them to take, because you have a much higher probability of them taking that action. And the other thing is, so if you use something like AdSense, because of the page load time, because of all the scripts behind it, the moment you take that off the page and you just have affiliate content, your page loads up much bit quicker. And so you're actually helping Google to rank your site higher, because Google thinks, over all the pages, if you have 10% of your pages that are loading really, really quickly and like 80% that aren't, that's going to have an effect of raising those up. And so if you think of it being a critical kind of ranking factor, even though it's not a major one, but it's being critical, and I would argue and I would assert that actually, as a user, speed is really, really crucial, because you don't want to be sat there waiting around, right? If you can improve 1, 2, 3, 4, 10% of your site, you then lift everything else up, and that can have a significant impact on your revenue and on your profit.
So this site that we're talking about, if you can share any numbers, even if they're kind of round numbers, about how much it's making per month, how many page views it's getting, how many articles you have on it, just any details so we can kind of get our minds wrapped around what you're working with.
Sure. So I'm doing about 5K in profit, UK pounds, and I've got about 500 or 600 articles. And yeah, so I'm working with a couple of writers who I'm moving more and more into being just an editor, which I feel is kind of more my kind of thing. And it's obviously a bit less time consuming having to write articles versus having to just edit. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. And so yeah, so we're doing a couple of thousand hits a day, and yeah, it's all really really good.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to be making off of one website.
Right.
And 5,000 pounds. That's probably 6 or 7,000 US dollars.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You know, I should have had that translation up while you were saying it. But yeah, so that's a substantial amount of earnings. And 500 to 600 articles is quite a volume of articles. How long have you been working on the site?
So I think in the last kind of 3 years, I've written about 1 million words for that website. So I'm a bit geeky, so I save all those kind of things, right? So I know the like general word count. Yeah. So I think it's about a million words.
Okay.
So
well, that's a lot of words. You mentioned writers. So what's your process like right now for keyword research, working with other writers versus you writing them? I heard you say that you also like to write articles.
Yeah.
What's your process like to find those keywords, to get them distributed to writers, or to write them yourself, to get them published? Because that's a lot of volume. I think you must have some systems in place to get that kind of volume out the door.
Sure. So I separate articles into what I can write and what anyone can write. And so what anyone can write, it may be a generalistic kind of 10 ways to improve your golf swing, or 10 ways to fish this weekend. Anyone can write that with enough research and with enough kind of thought. And so that doesn't really need me, but someone may not understand the minutiae of, say, IFTTT, which is this then that, right? Which is a programming language that we use in home automation, right? Just to and so somebody could do the research, but it would then need somebody to go through and check every word and make sure that it was kind of accurate. And so in those kinds of situations, it's better for me to just say, right, I'll write that myself, because it is complicated and it's not something you can just kind of pick up, right? And so that's how I kind of separate things. I then started taking a more kind of topic view. So I've always had a topic view in terms of keywords. So I've never really relied on just writing for like a keyword. I kind of think of the keyword as a topic. So my keyword may be like how to improve your golf swing. But then I'm thinking, right, okay, Google may rank me for golf swing, golf swing tips, golf swing improvements, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm thinking in terms of those kind of topics, but I'm also thinking in terms of the wider topic. So if somebody comes to my website, how can I get them to stay on the website and encompass everything to do with, say, golf swings, right? And so the topic of golf swings may actually have 100 or 200 articles that you can write out.
Right.
And then it's just about then trying to find the keywords that make sense in terms of what you can actually rank for and what you can actually write for that isn't overlapping. So for a great example is recently I've just written about a home automation system, for example. And because it's a dealer system, I found a dealer in the UK who's released a price list on their website, which they probably shouldn't have done. But for me, that's great, because in my initial piece, obviously I've talked about price in kind of general terms, but since going away and doing this research and finding they've got a price list on their website, I can grab that price list off and say, well, so-and-so posted this price list from 4 years, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, right? And I'm not saying this is correct, but here's their price list. So here's what you typically may pay for a system, and break it down in more depth. And so I can start to rank for, name of the whole home automation system cost or prices of blank. And so that can then get me to get people in who may have some understanding, and maybe they'll then read the original article, maybe they'll read some of their articles that I've written about that particular brand, etc. And so, so it's about trying to think of individual topics and then the whole topic as in entirety. But again, I try and focus on really low volume and really low competition. And again, that's something I've learned from Spencer, because I'm determined with everything that I write, or the majority of what I write, that I can rank on the first page. And so obviously that's not possible, and obviously that is a great goal to have. But I feel that actually, if you get your targeting right to begin with, you should increase your odds of ranking really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can rank really, really well, it doesn't really matter how much, how big or how clever or important the keywords are, because Google will realize you've written something that's of value to rank you that highly, and they'll start ranking you for other key terms. And obviously, if you get a couple of links involved as well, you're off to the races, aren't you?
Right. And when it comes to the content that you're publishing, what is this? Do you have a preferred split between informational content, commercial content? What types of informational content are you writing? Is it kind of that how-to, those guides? Is it more questions and responding to questions you find? Same question when it comes to your commercial content. Are they individual product reviews, or are they kind of more roundups? Because at that volume of content, you probably have a good assortment of different types of articles.
Sure. So commercially, I like to do like a roundup for like the top 10 or top 5, and right, because I feel that that's a really, really good article if you decided on something and you just want a quick comparison. If you can look at 5 and read a couple of sentences about each product, that will help you. Whereas if you're not so sure about a particular product, you want to read an in-depth review. So what I do is I then go, so I may write like, say, the 10 best golf putters. I then will write a review of each golf putter in that article and link the two. But then I might think, okay, what supporting content do people want who may be a step before that? And so people before that may want, say, how to pick, putting buying guide, or how to pick the right putter for your short game, right? And so you're absolutely right. So it's roundups, it's in single reviews, it's in how-tos, it's in typical questions that people may ask. And again, I think, and this is something I think I've probably nicked from John Dicegro, who probably, I apologize, John, for getting your name wrong. Fat Stacks blog, absolutely fantastic. If you're not on his mailing list, you should be, because it's just absolutely incredible stuff. But I think he writes quite a lot of that kind of just generalistic questions that are generally not highly popular in terms of results or competition, but are supporting content that people want answered, and you can write authoritatively fairly easily and get quite a lot of content published around those types of questions.
Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily need to be the one to write a lot of those, because they're pretty easy to research, pretty easy to give your writer or your team of writers. Yeah. I know on my largest website, one of the top 5 pages for traffic every month is an article that focuses on a keyword that I think Ahrefs said had a total of 10 monthly searches.
Right.
And it ended up ranking for so many other terms. And not all of them go that way. As a matter of fact, the vast majority don't. But it is a testament to the fact that this going after really, really long tail keywords that are have very low competition. Can be a great strategy for getting a lot of traffic.
But I also think that ties into intent as well. So when you're writing about products, if you're just trying to optimize for, say, the product name, you're competing with Walmart, Amazon, Target, whatever, right? Whereas if you're trying to target, because you're writing a review, if you try and target such and such a review, and you get review the title in the URL and in the body, you then actually up your chances of getting ranks, because you've kind of gone, you've niched down even further, and therefore you actually can compete better because you set your intent correctly. And I think at that point, you may be targeting a keyword with like 20, 30 searches a month, But actually, if you can get on the top 3 spots, which should be relatively easier, you'll actually make more, right? Because nobody's going to look for you on the 6th page, unfortunately, right?
So true.
Right, and so I think oftentimes it is matter, isn't it? It's kind of convincing yourself that actually it's much better to publish at volume on lower keywords, on lower volume and lower competition keywords, than try and be really impressive and get nowhere.
Yep, and get no one, because you're right. Even if you write even when you write for a highly competitive topic and you rank, but you're only on page 6, no one's going to view it anyways.
No.
Yeah. Let's talk about the way that the monetization breaks down for your site, because the way that you have written your content is it makes itself available for Amazon affiliates, for direct affiliate partners, for advertising on the site. I mean, how do you know how your monetization breaks down? Are you making most of your money on your roundup reviews from Amazon affiliates? Or are you making more money from your individual product reviews and direct relationships with affiliates? How does that break down?
So affiliates count for, I think, like 85%, 90% of my actual revenue, and advertising is about 10%. But that's because obviously if you're selling hi-fi gear like I am, the payout is far more than you'll ever get for a click. But that's not to say that that's the best model, or that's just a model I'm using. But then, if Amazon was to go away tomorrow, I still would want to have those adverts on the site to keep me paying the bills, essentially, right? Just off the top of my head, I think individual reviews generally convert better and get me more actual revenue, just because I think they're easier to rank. And so I think I found with certain roundup reviews, they're a little bit trickier to rank for. And so I wouldn't get rid of them necessarily, but they don't rank as well, and so they're not going to be producing as much revenue as other single posts.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's been a bit of a push from a lot of site owners to move away from roundup reviews to other types of monetized content, just because it is a lot harder nowadays for certain queries to rank for those roundup reviews and those best X for Y type queries, so that makes a lot of sense. Any other tips to share? Any other thing, like if you were to say what's one more thing that has caused your site to do so well, to hit that 5, 6, 7,000 per month revenue target? Like is there anything we didn't talk about that you think really distinguishes the site?
So and this is going to sound a bit weird, but I like to think of what I have just intrinsically is I'm happily ignorant. I that sounds like contradiction in terms, but I'm happily ignorant to just keep going. And I think part of what I see, and part of why I think lots of people give up, is they don't push through. And I think for me, I love what I do, and so that just kind of keeps me going. And so when I have those frustrating days where things don't go well, or I have those months where revenue isn't as great as I want it to be, I just come back to the point of I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm doing something that is fun. It pays the bills. I do quite well out of it, don't get me wrong. But it's just following that natural cycle of ups and downs, and just saying, okay, great, this hasn't worked out, great, but I'm just going to keep going. So I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is realizing where you can get traction, where you can't. And so I think there are topics and there are subtopics that you just, no matter how hard you try, it's just too competitive, or there's a Google ranking factor that is put in place to safeguard consumers. So like personal finance, for example, right? So there may be a way for somebody to start a personal finance site and get some traction, but they're never going to get traction writing about mortgages, just because Google will never like them for that. And so I think part of it is realizing you can either fight an uphill battle doing something that you enjoy doing and that can be profitable, right? Or you can fight an uphill battle doing something that's going to be highly unprofitable that you're never going to get anywhere, such as writing about mortgages. And to me, I'd much rather choose something that I can at least try and have a drop in the ocean kind of effect on that helps me make money, rather than trying to bulldoze my way through a 20-foot concrete slab. Right?
When you put it that way. Lean into the first point you said about sticking to it and about pushing through the highs, the lows, and just continuing to get up every day and write content, produce content, build your site. What has the success curve been with this site? Was it pretty quick to earn money, or has this as the success you talk about now, has that been more of a recent coming?
So I've gradually improved everything, and so one thing that I put in place about 2 years ago was a content map, which we'll come and talk to in a second. But the content map for me really helped me kind of build out processes for my businesses. And this year I've been working with somebody who's become a great friend called Christina, who's just incredible at building processes. And basically it's building processes into your business that mean that you don't need to show up, on full capacity every day. And so for me, I like to talk about with clients and with friends about having the minimums. And so for me, having like daily minimums, so I may have like 3 things I need to get done every day, or 2 things I need to get done every day. And as long as I get those things done, I'm pushing everything forward. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if all I do is those 2 things, at least I've moved things a step forward. That the extra time after that, I can then do crazy things that may waste time, may be highly profitable, but may actually have a 10x kind of growth spurt to it, to the odd one, right? But I do think it's about having minimums that you can do and follow every day, and having that as a process, so you don't need to show up and have to be on full pelt all the time.
That's great. That's good. Yeah, those processes can keep you. I talk about it all the time. If you are able to prioritize your day or your task list, to get the most important thing, to prioritize it so you can focus on the most important thing, it can be kind of crazy for your productivity when it's 9 a.m. You've been working for an hour, but you've gotten the most important thing done already, and the rest of the day, still very important things to do, but you've already gotten the most important thing done. So it can be really motivating and compelling.
Yeah, but I also think by having by knowing what you need to get done each week, you can then cut out all the distractions. You can cut out all that time that you would have spent, I think, on Facebook or looking on Instagram or whatever. Which is, don't get me wrong, free time is free time. But I think it's easier to say, right, I've got these 5 tasks to complete this week. Let's just do that before I do anything else. Mm-hmm. And then everything else becomes easier.
Yep. Well, let's talk about your time as a moderator in the Niche Pursuits Facebook group, because
let's do it.
That is fascinating. And I think that it's going to give a lot of insights for people, because you see, I don't want to say all the questions, but man, do you see a lot of questions come in from people. And I'm just curious what are some common questions that you see people have, and talk through what it's like to just learn from all these questions you see, and share some of those with the with everybody listening.
Yeah, sure, let's do it. So I'll give you my top 3. So the first one that I see all the time is money, and so I think people have this misconception that to start an online business they need lots of money, and they don't. And I think you just need a basic hosting package and a domain name. And to get a basic hosting package and a domain name, probably you need about $50 to $100 a year, right? And then you can try and do everything else yourself, or you can try and find ways to find low cost ways of doing things. And so I think people have this misconception that because they're starting a business, it's going to cost them a lot of money because they conceptualize the business as starting like a retail store. And obviously, you start a retail store, you need to get stock, you need to get shelves, tills, etc. And I think the benefit of starting an online business is that it's so cheap to do it that you just need to think, okay, I need hosting, WordPress, and a domain, and I can get going, and a theme. And all of those are really, really cheap. And actually, you can have a little bit of success and then reinvest as you go. And so I would just say, if you're struggling and you're listening to this now and you're thinking, I don't have enough money, try this weekend or over the next month to cobble together $50 or or $100. Maybe, sell your time doing something that you have a skill at, sell some old clothes, sell some junk at your house, and start with that money, right? Because it's so simple to start. And it breaks my heart to think that people are held back by this notion that they need lots and lots of money, but they don't. So think as small and think small and start as small as you possibly can and build from there. Don't imagine that you have to go in at step 10. Think of how you can start at step 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know if, I guess a great way of saying it is, let's just imagine Starbucks started as 2 guys with an old VW van or the VW camper who were selling coffee, from the roadside, right? Right. They didn't start by having this epic kind of management structure and farmers all over the world and roasting plants, and employee retention schemes, etc., etc. They started with as little money as possible and just trying to make it work, right? And built from there. And so I think you have to adopt that mentality, and just go from there.
And so that's one of the most common questions, and one of the ones that you see a lot. What are some others that you see get posted a lot or get a lot of traction when they get posted?
So the next one is time, and we've touched on time, so I'm not going to reiterate, but I just say plan out what you think you need to get done each week, and just try and stick to that. So I say to people all the time, it's more about consistency than being clever. And so if all you can do is post once, write a new post once a week and publish a new post a week, but be consistent with it, you'll get far, 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 far further on than if you wrote an article for the next 30 days and killed yourself and then did nothing for the next year. And so decide what you're going to do. So decide, right, I'm going to publish 1 post a week. I'm going to do 2 Facebook posts. I'm going to send an email a month. And so once you've got a basic list of tasks, you can then check your progress as often as you can, as often as you want, or as weekly, and just stay on course and be consistent.
So you've had the opportunity to see a lot of these questions posted. What are some of the things that you've learned? What are some of the values and the insights you've gotten out of it? Because it's often, I feel, for me doing these podcasts, somewhat similar, where I get to learn so much, and I've learned so much from interviewing different people, and you get to see so many questions come up. What are some of the valuable takeaways you've gotten from moderating?
So one of the things I have been encouraged by is just the scale of people we have in the group. So last week, for example, someone that had posted, I'm going to probably get this wrong, but I think they crossed $300 for the first time. And I went back the next day and looked, and I think it had something like 20, 25 comments of people just saying, congrats. And to me, that's just, it just warms my heart, because it's just thinking, how incredible is that? $300 for most people isn't that amazing, but that's really, really cool. But then we have people in the group from Africa, from South Asia, who are doing incredible amounts of turnover. who may not have the easiest start in life, may not have the best internet connection or the best computer, but I find it really, really inspiring. And so that has been really, really insightful. And again, that encourages me to keep going and to keep persevering. And I think having those little drops of sunshine now and again really helps you, right?
It can be a very lonely business, this one, right? You can really get isolated and not, if you don't pursue that sense of community, you can just be on your own island, publishing content and thinking that, the rest of the world has gone away while you sit there behind a computer.
Yeah. So I've seen that. And then personally, I think I've learned a lot about how to outreach, because people will post the most hilarious emails they get in terms of how people have asked for links. And that can be really incredibly insightful in terms of how it can inform your way of asking about links. Also, when people post their success and what they've done and the steps they've taken, that can give me, one or two tips that I can then go and apply. So a question that I always see, and because I've seen tremendous success myself with this, is building internal links. And so I don't think people are building enough internal links to kind of keep people on their website or to give topical relevancy to Google. And so when people have posted about building internal links and they see their graphs shoot up, it really encourages me to go back and do that kind of thing. I know Link Whisperer obviously is Spencer's tool, and he's helping people do that. But those kind of things is really insightful to see that. But also be able to see how other people are tactically doing things. You're completely right. It's so low. It can be so lonely. And I think if you're not working with a team of people, you're not getting that input all the time from other people. And so having a forum where you can discuss things openly and honestly and get good feedback from people that may not think in the way that you do, you can't buy that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's so important.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, even those of us who work in teams on a day job, have realized the value of these types of things, because with COVID, so many people ended up working from home in isolation. And it really does bring back to you even just the value of a team and the value of input and the value of different ideas, different ways to combat a problem or a challenge, and trying to get a solution. And we all deal with that every day. How do we get this article to get from page 2 to page 1? How do we crack the code on getting people to link to this article or those sorts of things? So that's a really good point you brought up. And I think if for everybody listening, if you're not a part of the Niche Pursuits Facebook group, it's just all you have to do. What is the process to get accepted? Is it just fill out to ask to be accepted? Do you have to answer a few questions?
Yes. So there's 3 questions. So you either have to have an online business or be interested in online business. You have to supply us with an email address, and then there's an optional form. So I give priorities to people that actually say yes, they have an online business, or no, and explain why they want to be part of the group. So, for example, I have one guy this week who said, I'm not interested in starting a business, but I'm running SEO for my company, and so I want to know more about that. I'm like, great, come on in. And then, and the optional question at the end can be really, really helpful, because that informs me as a moderator and the other moderators how we can maybe help you. And so if you're struggling with something really, really specific that's in my understanding, I'll more than likely shoot you an email or a Facebook message and say, hey, how can I help you with X? Right? Because I'm there to help and I'm there to learn, etc. And so for me, so the more detail you can put on that application form, the more likely you'll get in, and the more likely you'll get help.
Any easy ways to not get past? Any quick tips on ways not to get past, AJ, so that people can make sure not to make those mistakes on the application?
So the easiest way to get rejected is to not write anything.
To not write anything. Okay, there you go. So
there you go. It's that simple.
Explain yourself. And AJ's probably going to at least give you a chance.
Exactly. Exactly.
So switching gears a bit, you have a course.
I do.
Course on for affiliate marketers. What's talk about the course? Talk about what's unique. Talk about the areas you focus on in your course.
So about 2 years ago, I tried to processize what I was doing. And so I developed a framework in terms of how I create content. And I realized most people make two key mistakes when they're coming up with ideas of content. They try and they try and brainstorm too infrequently, and they try and put all the onus on making a list of say like 100 ideas in 20 minutes, and they mess understand what an idea is. So part of the course is talking you through what an idea is. So an idea is something you could write about. It's not something that you will write about, but it's something you could. I talk about how to find kind of keyword ideas, and then and then try and encourage you to do something every day. So try and find ideas every day. So for me, I collect ideas constantly. So maybe I read something that I think, oh, I'm interested about that. I maybe can write something similar around that, or oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's a really unique question, and so I'll put it into my spreadsheet. I then talk about how to validate keyword ideas and how to so I give you 10 ways to come up with like keyword ideas, then how to validate keyword ideas in terms of how to find low competition keywords that you can actually rank for. I then talk about how to actually make that into a draft post that you can start to write around. I then talk about how to monitor keywords and how to track that your keywords are ranking, and how to make sure that you are actually putting the processes in place if things aren't ranking, what to do about it, how to come back to it. So it's a really easy system, and it's a really easy spreadsheet to get your head around. And the course is delivered in 16 individual modules with a full color workbook and lots of templates and external resources as well. So it's meant for people that are running affiliate sites, because that's kind of what I do. But I've got clients who are running blogs who I've taught the system to, and they're doing really well with, and they're starting to generate inbound traffic. And because they're a blogger, they're not an SEO. They don't have any kind of high level knowledge about how to generate traffic. And so by having a system that again puts the guesswork out of it, they're able to make really, really good decisions really quickly and build out a whole month or a whole couple of months of content creation within minutes. So that's what my course does.
Okay. Wow. That's a compelling argument.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you about it earlier with your site.
Sure.
And I meant to ask you about it, but Please. It's probably a good time to ask now as it relates to the course. But what does in terms of the course, or just in terms of your thoughts, how does link building play into what you do and your thoughts for an affiliate website and how to monetize and rank it?
So link building does. And so I'm very, very lucky. One of my best friends does a lot of roundup posts, where like expert roundup posts, Monica Elena. And so I've done probably about 5 or 6 in the last 2 or 3 years since I've known her. So that's been a really, really great source of link building for me.
And talk people through that. What does that look like? I know sure. her a bit in passing as well, but what is she? Is that something she did for your site? She would do these for your site, or is it something you would participate in to get links back to your site?
So it's something I participated in.
Okay.
And then she has actually helped me put together one for my site. Mm-hmm. And what was actually really great, because she's a really close friend of mine, I said, can you help me do it? And she just talked me through it. And I was just like, she made my life so much easier because I didn't have to think.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, no, so I've contributed to these roundups. Mm-hmm. And what's really, really great is it's about finding an open question to ask, then finding experts that you can network with who can supply you with an answer, and they can look back to your site once the post goes live. And so for me, it's been great because I can hopefully give them a really valuable answer, get a link that way, but also I can help her with like doing social posts out or putting things out in the newsletter, those kind of things, which then gets traction and it helps them to rank as well. And so that's been really, really helpful. I've also found doing things like link swaps, where a company may approach me and say, would you accept a guest post? And I'll go, yes, great, let's do that. And then I'll say, can you, I found this article where you talked about this topic, which is something that I where I'm the expert. Would you mind either me writing something similar or about that topic but in a different area of that topic, or can I give you a quote for that piece that then you can link back to me? And a lot of people will say, yeah, that's great. And so I've done that. I'm now at the process where I'm starting to look more at link building as a strategy of getting things that aren't ranking to rank. But yeah, so far though, I'm ranking 6% of my articles without having done like a load of backlinks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know once I start getting backlinks in, that will then lift everything up. So I'm really excited in this next stage. But then the other thing that I've done is I'm trying to be really, really tactical when I've done internal link building to make sure that every article has its own link pointing to it. If I can get the keyword in that link, I'll try and do it. Obviously, that's not always possible, but I'll try. And then just trying to link as much as possible to try and encourage Google to crawl my site and to crawl the articles and to try and index those articles. So yeah, so that's been my process. But yeah, that's my next step on is to start building lots more links out.
Well, very good. We covered a tremendous amount today.
We have indeed.
From background, from your first HTML site, from selling watches and not getting to keep one for yourself.
I know.
from your websites and some of the ones from the music to the home automation that have been doing well, to your Facebook moderating and what you've learned from that, all the way back around to your course and whatnot. So a lot of topics. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Is there anything in kind of imparting, or is there anything I didn't ask you about that you wanted to highlight that we didn't touch on?
No, I guess I'd just like to reiterate, if you haven't started, you're listening, please start today. Please join our Facebook group. Please ask as many stupid questions as you can, because the stupid questions in life are the ones you don't ask, right? And get stuck in, because the only way you're going to be successful is if you commit to being consistent, you commit to being a lifelong learner, and you commit to asking as many questions as you possibly can.
And keep learning.
Keep doing it.
Ask those questions so you keep learning. Right. That's great. And so where can people find you? Talk about how people can connect with you. Obviously, the Niche Pursuits Facebook group probably would be a great place to find you, but also where can people connect with you and learn more about your course as well?
So they can go to ajsdigitalgroup.co.uk, which is my home page. But yeah, please join me. Please join me on the Facebook group. I'm always, you're always welcome to Facebook Messenger me. I try and answer as many sensible requests as I possibly can, or just ask in the group. And because I try and answer as many questions that I can as humanly possible into the limited time I have. But yeah, so.
That's wonderful. And that was ajsdigitalgroup.co.uk.
Perfect.
And for those listening, and then obviously the Facebook group. And part of being a moderator is you don't have to answer every question. You just make sure that people get facilitated and whatnot. I know there's a lot of people on there to answer questions. And help out. So that's a great piece of advice to. It's so true that the chances are, especially in a group that size, that your question is one that several of the people have at the same time, and you asking, it's going to help not just yourself, but other people see the answer. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thanks, AJ. It's been a pleasure and a treat.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll see you around in the Facebook group. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers. Have a great one.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.